The women here from the Maryland Federation of Women, Margaret and everyone, thank you for coming. They're here today to see democracy in action. You're going to see part of it right now. The ability to petition and to meet and to express your views. The Joint Republican Caucus has a statement to make today, and I'm going to turn it over to the House Leader, O'Donnell.
Thank you, Leader Kittleman. We wanted to join together in a unified front this morning to talk about our fiscal future and really the future of our children and our grandchildren. What's going on in Washington these days is very disconcerting. There is a stimulus bill working its way through the Congress, of course, and stimulus may be important. But what we can't do is blind future generations with excessive spending today that will certainly be paid for with a very, very high price tomorrow. And with that thought in mind, we want to offer some caution to the state of Maryland. If Maryland is going to receive a federal stimulus in the form of failing to change the state spending practices, kind of papering over what we've been doing here, we think some protection should be offered in the long run for the taxpayer. Because what we receive simply inflates our baseline here, what we call our baseline budget, and starts new programs and starts new spending. We will only increase pressures in the out years for tax increases on our citizens. 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, we're going to have increased pressure to raise taxes to pay these bills. So what we have before us today is an example of a proposal that you're going to hear the sponsors talk about. But in the broader sense, the House Republican caucuses have fought for years to caution the government on excessive spending, to give the message that we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. And we're here again today, not so much as an I told you so role for those efforts in years past, but to say, let's not mess it up going forward again. And so having said that, Leader Kittleman, a few remarks, and then we're going to turn it over to the sponsors.
Thank you, Leader O'Donnell. I will tell you, a couple of years ago, the Senate Republicans put an amendment on the floor for the budget to try to rein in spending, and that failed on a party line vote. But I can tell you, many members of the other side of the aisle came up to us after that vote and said, we wanted to vote with you because you guys are right. We're facing a problem and we're not handling it. And if we had done that 2 years ago, we would have been in a lot better shape today if they had listened to the House caucus and the Senate caucus. But I will share one last thing with you. I was at a Senate briefing for the Finance Committee last week when Warren Deschanel, who is the budget person in the Department of Legislative Services, came and spoke. And in one of my responses to one of my questions, he said, if we don't use the stimulus money for maybe one time only, and we use it to spend on ongoing priorities, then in 2 years, we will be in worse shape than we are today. We need to use that money to maybe bridge us while we're fixing something. We can't use that to just be a Band-Aid to hope things will be better 2 years from now, which is unfortunately what the governor is doing. So what we have today is a way to protect people in the future. I'd like to turn it over to the lead sponsor in the Senate, Senator Andy Harris.
Right on target. The federal stimulus bill, the way it's going to be applied in Maryland, will just serve to increase ongoing spending in the state of Maryland. Given that, taxpayers need protection. What we're proposing today, and we filed last night, the Taxpayer Protection Act, which, as is done in other states, would require a supermajority of the legislature in order to pass a tax increase, going from a 50% requirement now to a 60% requirement. If you look back to 2007, if we had this protection for Maryland taxpayers in place, we would not have enacted the highly unpopular sales tax increase and the other tax increases that were increased, which led to increased spending, digging our hole deeper. Marylanders agree across party lines, across geography, across demography, that this is a necessary protection for their taxpayers. You've seen a poll has been handed out. The Gonzalez poll is part of the three-session Gonzalez poll. We polled this question by more than 2-to-1 majority. Marylanders agree we need this protection in Maryland. And that's whether you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, man or woman, black or white, live in Eastern Shore, Western Maryland, Washington suburbs, in every single region, every single demographic, the majority of Marylanders agree that this is a protection we need in Maryland now. And it couldn't be more timely as we're about to debate in this session, continuing our spending habits unchecked with the initiative of stimulus money. So with that,
We introduced to you the House, lead sponsor of the House bill. We've had a lot of bills introduced that go along this line. We have a taxpayer bill of rights that will also be for this year. Steve Schu's going to talk about the specifics of this bill and the taxpayer protection.
Marylanders have absolutely had it. We all know as Americans the power of tax and the power to destroy. This government, the Maryland state government, has more than doubled in the last 10 years, from $15 billion only 10 years ago to over $30 billion today. That incessant growth in state government has been fueled by taxes, extraordinary tax increases, including the largest tax increase in Maryland state history only a year ago. That today has put us in the unenviable position of being the fourth most taxed state in the United States. That's not a race we want to win. And we are now, I'm sorry to say, the 47th state with respect to business tax climate. This is no environment to being hard on our businesses and reducing employment here in Maryland. This bill is part of a broad-based effort that has spanned several years and includes the efforts of many different people in the House and Senate, including Delegate Warren Miller, who first put forward his taxpayer bill of rights bill in 2004. Hopefully, by working together, we will succeed in restraining the growth of government, restraining the growth of taxes, and we're dedicating ourselves to the concept of limited government on which this country is based. Thank you.